situation now.
Well, absolutely, Hazel. You know, under the 2020 agenda for Tokyo was an opportunity really for new sports to apply to be on the Olympic programme now. And why not? You know, at the end of the day, every sport in the Olympic Charter, it states about opportunity for all, fair play. Well, every sport deserves its opportunity to make a bid. We were unsuccessful. We were very late to the table, to be fair. We're only just over 5 years into a restructure of this sport, of course, and as I say, a very late bid. We did reasonably well, rattled a few cages, made our mark, made some noise about it, and there's a lot of support out there. And we are great advocates of the Olympic movement, and we will be coming back to the table.
You're something of a mover and shaker yourself, because I understand you had a meeting with the IOC president only last week, is that right?
I was in Lausanne last week with sport accord conferences with the IOC, and there's certainly a lot of interest for some of the work we're doing in snooker now. I mean, if you look at the way that we're developing our sport at grassroots level, you see how we're developing in this wonderful city. Opportunity for all. We're getting more kids involved, more children, more ladies. We've set up World Disability Billies and Snooker this year, which we've seen some great features here at the BBC. All these things are contributing to the way our sport is growing in communities, and this is a core part of the Olympic movement, and we want to make our contribution.
Now, in terms of the work that needs to be done, we've seen a lot of work being done with disability snooker, obviously. In terms of the women's game, though, that seems to be the area where there could be a bit of a struggle on your hands. It's not perhaps caught on as much as you would have hoped, I suspect.
Well, it's a very interesting debate, because actually we operate an open tour sport. We don't actually operate a ladies' game and a men's game. We actually operate an open tour. So every man and woman has the same opportunity to compete on the World Snooker Tour, if good enough. Now, of course, some of our top lady players have achieved appearances in the final stages of some of our events. For me, it's just a numbers game. You know, there is no reason why a woman cannot compete with a man, but there are less women playing the sport. So that's an area that we've started to focus on and try to drive some extra participation.
It's an interesting debate from the players' point of view, because it talks to us about golf, it talks to us about tennis, and is this the pinnacle of your sport? But from a player's perspective, it's something we've visited before. Would you fancy the idea of competing for your country in the Olympic Games, Steve?
Yes, and I think any snooker player that currently probably doesn't understand the whole picture of what it could do for snooker worldwide, because it unlocks a lot of funding that we could then use to make the grassroots of the game even bigger. But I can understand that people go, no, we don't want to have golfing, we don't have tennis, they're professional sports. Well, it's all changed and nothing ever stays the same. Somewhere down the line, back in the history of actually courtesy of QI and Stephen Fry, was the fact that poetry and tug of war were in the Olympics. Everything changes, so why not get the sports that are currently on TV and are hot property, like snooker, like darts, golf is tennis. I mean, I don't see the problem with it. I think of all of the ball sports, snooker's the best, though.
Well, you would, obviously, but it's not just snooker that would be included, it would be cue sports generally. And Stephen, I know that you are dealing in China particularly with different forms of cue sport, and they are played very, very widely, not just snooker.
Yeah, there's I don't know how many different variants of pool there is, but there's got to be, what, half a dozen?
Yeah, at least.
Something.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, there's billiards, which not the best. I never liked billiards myself, but that's another cue sport. I think it's massive in India, isn't it? So yeah, there's lots of scope for different sports to be involved.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as our bid, we're already in the World Games, of course, in Wrocław in 2017. That bid will comprise of 9-ball pool, which is the American version. It will comprise of snooker.
Does that mean snooker players have to play pool?
No, it doesn't actually.
Right,
they are actually competing for separate medals. So different disciplines playing their own sport, but plenty of countries, obviously, a big spread across the world.
Might be interesting, though. You get different cue players to play different sports.
Yeah,
might be a leveler.
Perhaps there'll be an omnium for cue sports. You never get that one in your list. Get that one in your list. But let's hear how some of the other snooker professionals, at least, fancy the idea of getting a gold medal around the neck.
For me, no. I know they're working hard to get it, but for me, I think Olympic sports should be sports that are athletes. No, we're not athletes in any way. No, look at me. I'm not the model Olympic, professional person. So, no, I think snooker's a long way off that. And no, the people that play the game need to get themselves in shape, myself included, before we could consider ourselves a sport that can compete in the Olympics.
I think so. Yeah, I think there's a lot less athletic things in the Olympics than snooker. I think snooker gets the viewing figures worldwide as good as most sports, and I think the sort of the practice that goes into snooker, I definitely think it should be rewarded with that.
Yeah, I think it could be. There's many nationalities on the tour nowadays. The sport's growing worldwide all the time, so yeah, I can't see why not.
I'd like a gold medal.
I think everybody would love a gold medal, John, you're absolutely right. So not 2020, 2024 is the next target. Is it achievable for you?
It is achievable. I mean, if we look at the way our sports grow, as players were saying it there, you know, the sport has grown globally. We now have countries with 110 national governing bodies around the world now. I mean, this is a huge sport. Coupled with the other key sports, you know, around 200 countries compete in billiard sports. So a great chance for us, a huge participation sport. You know, what we've got to do, we've got to channel the energy of all those bodies around the world to lobby with their own Olympic committees and, of course, get the support from the public. We're running a number of surveys out there at the moment. We've got a survey on our website, worldsnooker.com, at the moment, which is really an insight survey about our sport, and we want people to fill those in and give us an insight what we need to do.
Well, good luck with the moving